Hello and welcome to this week's update. We are starting a lot of projects in preparation for our second year anniversary feast, and yes, we have a returning topic: doors. You have seen us building a lot of doors on this channel, and they had a lot of different shapes and usages. Starting with our basement doors, which needed isolation, creating fence doors for our market garden, some of them bigger, some of them smaller. Some of them we created in the first year, some of them just in the last weeks. Some of them were horizontal and others vertically parted into two doors. We built them during the day and we built them during the night. In some special cases, we even built our own door frames. Some we left in the natural look, and some of those we painted white. Some doors' construction was rather simple and fast forward. And some doors' construction were rather unusual. Some were built from scrap wood and were rather light. Others were built from thick, expensive larch wood and were very heavy. And everyone who knows this door knows it supposedly was there to protect your privacy. As it is not really fitting its purpose, we are rebuilding this door. Here I'm starting with the door frame, or to be rather more exactly, with the tenon of the door frame. I pre-cut them on the circular saw to have less work later on with a chisel when I clean them up. This is also a work we do in preparation of our annual feast, as many people will join us also in the house, and we want for all of them to have the level of privacy they want on the toilet. As mentioned, in this step I'm cleaning up the cuts and shape the tenon with the chisel. The final cleanup I like to do with a planer, although this is not really needed, and I mainly do this because I really like this planer. I'm aiming for a tenon thickness of 16mm, as this also is the strength of the drill, which I'm gonna use later on in the horizontal mill. Now I'm just finishing up the other pieces so that I can start drilling and then assemble the frame. Something I nearly forgot was to create a shoulder on the tenon so that the round edges from the drilled hole are covered and I don't have to round over the tenon's corners. The cross parts are gonna host the tenons, and the length parts of the frame gonna host the holes. Therefore I'm using my horizontal wood mill. I'm not exactly sure what the English name here really is, but this is made for particular that job. And now it's finally time to assemble the frame, and I think this will be also the last step you see for this week's update on the door, as other things are rather present and have to be done for the feast. We ran out of sticks for our plant, again. And we had some large at hand, which we actually wanted to use for a different project, but we were needing those sticks really fast. So Leo cut down some boards to a length of 2 meters, removed the early wood, which is vulnerable to bugs and shrooms, planed them to some dimensions that she had a good start to cut them to smaller pieces. I then went to the big circular saw and cut a lot of small sticks. And voila, we ended up with around 30 sticks. With off camera had got the points and cutter rounded over the corners later on. A very important task, which we weren't able to do in the last year's fest, had been done by cutter. We desperately need a disco kugel for our disco. We wanted to recycle as much as material as possible, so we started with those metal strips, and then later on put old CDs, which we of course gonna use later on again, onto it. Although not totally finished yet, we're really pleased with the result and the current state of our disco ball. As you already have seen a lot of it in the last 2 videos, we keep it short. This week we also did a lot of preservation of our food for the winter. One last project which we started and finished this week was a big wooden spoon. As we want to cook 28 liters of chili sin carne, which is mainly self-made, all the vegetables are, we need a big spoon to mix it. And we don't have one, so let's get started. This is an oak leftover part from the vegetable rack, which we built for our storage room. First, I had to draw on the dimensions. Then I cut away a lot of wood next to the handle with the jigsaw.
Blase. In die Blase.
I finished up the shape of the spoon with a planer without really having a proper plan, so I winged it. I'm pretty pleased with the result so far. Let's see how well it works. That's it for this week's update. See you all in the next one with a little bit of a review of the last year.